What if I told you that someone's future wealth can be predicted long before they ever touch six figures, buy a home, or get serious about retirement planning? Not by looking at their salary, not by judging their lifestyle, and not by checking their degree. Instead, a few quiet numbers, hidden behind the scenes, can almost forecast whether someone will eventually become financially free or end up constantly stressed about money. It sounds unbelievable, right? But financial planners, economists, and even long-term retirement studies point to the same conclusion. Your future wealth isn't determined by how much you earn. It's determined by how you behave. And these behaviors show up early, sometimes decades before the results become obvious. So before we get into the specific markers that separate those who quietly build wealth from those who stay stuck, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. Because once you understand these indicators, you'll see money in a completely different way. Let's dive into the real predictors. The first predictive number: how much you keep, not how much you earn. Income is the most overrated number in personal finance. Seriously, income is flashy, loud, and easy to brag about, but it's also a terrible predictor of long-term wealth. According to data from the Federal Reserve, high earners often end up with shockingly low net worths because their spending rises just as fast, sometimes faster, than their income. This is why financial planners look at one number first: your savings rate. Think of income like water flowing through a pipe. It doesn't matter if the pipe is huge. What matters is how much water actually ends up in the container at the end. If someone earns $80,000 per year but saves nothing, they are financially weaker than someone earning $45,000 but saving $500 per month. That second person is slowly building a foundation. The first one is running on a treadmill. Lots of motion, no forward movement. And here's the funny thing. People who build wealth over time rarely talk about their income. Many don't even remember their exact salary. But they can tell you, almost to the dollar, how much their net worth has grown year after year. That's because wealth is built quietly, through habit, not hype. Why net worth growth reveals the truth. Net worth is the real scoreboard, not salary, not title, not tax bracket. Net worth growth exposes everything. How much you save, how you spend, how you invest, how you react to raises, how disciplined you are, how patient you can be. Income doesn't reflect any of that. It's just a number printed on a slip of paper. But net worth tells the whole story. Interestingly, people with strong net worth growth share one thing in common. They treat increases in income like opportunities, not invitations to spend more. This leads us to the second number that predicts long-term wealth even more accurately: the lifestyle gap, the secret indicator almost no one watches. Let's say you get a 20% raise. Sounds amazing, right? But here's where things get interesting. What you do next signals whether you'll build real wealth or stay stuck your whole life. Most people upgrade everything immediately: a nicer apartment, a better phone, more nights out, a shinier car, and the raise, poof, is gone before it even hits the account. Economists call this lifestyle creep. It's invisible at first, but devastating long-term. Now, compare that to someone who increases their lifestyle by only 5%. They still enjoy the raise, but the remaining 15% goes straight into investments. That difference compounds for decades. The lifestyle gap is powerful because it reveals behavior. Two people with identical incomes will end up in entirely different worlds depending on how they handle raises. If someone lets lifestyle rise with income every single time, their net worth eventually flatlines. Income goes up, but nothing changes. And decades later, they're stuck asking the same painful question: how am I supposed to retire? Meanwhile, the person who saves a chunk of each raise doesn't just build wealth, they build freedom. They're not necessarily more frugal, they're just playing a smarter long-term game. Savings benchmarks, the hidden roadmap few follow. Let's talk about savings relative to income. because this is one of the most powerful predictors of future wealth and one of the most ignored. According to the Federal Reserve's most recent household finance survey, the typical American household has around 1 times their income saved, and that includes home equity. For people in their 60s, it barely reaches 2 times income on average. To put that into perspective, that means many people entering retirement have only enough saved to fund a couple years of living expenses. After that, life becomes a tightrope walk. Financial firms like Fidelity recommend a simple checkpoint system based on decades of studying comfortable retirees. Around 1 times income saved by age 30, 3 times by 40, 6 times by 50, 8 times by 60. You don't have to hit these numbers perfectly, but they give direction, and more importantly, they reveal something. The earlier you start, the easier everything becomes. People who fall behind often face decades of anxiety, cutting back, delaying retirement, worrying about inflation, and constantly second-guessing financial decisions. That's why consistently saving, even a small amount, signals a mindset that leads toward future wealth. Why early investing predicts wealth better than almost anything else. Everyone's heard the advice, start investing early. But most people underestimate just how powerful this really is. Time doesn't just help you, it multiplies your results in a way money alone never could. Let me give you an example that's backed up by S&P 500 historical data. The market has averaged roughly 10% annual returns over long periods, which means it doubles about every 7 years. If you start investing at 23, your money could double 5 times by retirement age. Think about that. A single $1,000 invested at 23 can turn into roughly $32,000 without you doing anything. Someone who starts in their 40s may only get 2 doubles. To match the person who started early, they might need to invest 4 or 5 times as much. But here's what really matters. Early investing is a mindset marker. It shows someone is thinking ahead. It shows restraint. It shows they understand consequences. It shows delayed gratification. And those traits predict long-term wealth far more accurately than whatever income someone happens to earn. When a 20-something opens a retirement account or sets up an automatic monthly investment, even if it's tiny, they're signaling long-term thinking. That trait alone puts them ahead of most people. The ratio no one talks about: appreciating versus depreciating assets. This is one of the most overlooked metrics in all of personal finance, yet it reveals someone's financial trajectory with surprising accuracy. Ask yourself, how much of what you own goes up in value and how much loses value every year? Cars, gadgets, furniture, electronics, these all depreciate. Stocks, index funds, retirement accounts, real estate, savings, these appreciate. Most people overwhelmingly load up on depreciating assets, and they wonder why progress feels impossible. The biggest culprit? Cars. Cars drain wealth quietly. A typical vehicle loses around 15% of its value every year, according to data from Kelley Blue Book. That means owning $60,000 worth of cars is like watching $9,000 evaporate annually. To avoid this, many advisors suggest keeping vehicle value under 5 to 10% of total net worth. If you're worth $200,000, that means a car around $10,000 to $20,000. Not glamorous, but incredibly efficient. People who ignore this rule fall into a painful pattern. Their cars eat up money that could have been invested. Meanwhile, people with modest cars and high investments quietly build wealth. It's not about being cheap, it's about direction. If most of what you own is losing value, you're running uphill. If most of what you own is gaining value, the wind is pushing you forward. The difference over a decade is enormous. Why these behaviors predict wealth decades ahead? Let's put all of this together, because these markers aren't random. High saving signals discipline. Small lifestyle jumps signal control. Strong net worth growth signals consistency. Early investing signals long-term thinking. Owning mostly appreciating assets signals smart allocation. When someone checks all these boxes, wealth almost becomes a byproduct, not a dream, not a wish, not luck, just a natural outcome of steady behavior. On the other hand, if someone spends every raise, makes big purchases early, invests late, owns mostly depreciating assets, saves inconsistently, then wealth becomes extremely difficult to achieve, even with a high income. One person builds financial momentum. The other stays stuck, sprinting hard but barely moving. The deeper reason few people become wealthy. Money isn't about numbers, it's about behavior. And behavior is about mindset. Someone who prioritizes long-term stability over short-term excitement builds wealth slowly but surely. Someone who constantly upgrades their lifestyle is building a life on sand, shiny, fun, but fragile. Most people struggle not because they're irresponsible, but because they were never shown the blueprint that wealthy families quietly follow. Schools don't teach it, employers don't teach it, friends rarely talk about it. But these signals, these behavioral indicators, are hiding in plain sight. Once you notice them, you'll see them everywhere. You can watch two people with identical salaries and instantly know which one will be financially free in 20 years and which one won't. It's not magic, it's habits. What you can do starting today. If you're hearing this and thinking, well, I'm behind, relax. Everyone feels like that when they first learn how all of this works. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is direction. If you start increasing your savings rate even slightly, you're already ahead. If you stop lifestyle creep on your next raise, you're already ahead. If you start investing early or start today, you're already ahead. If you reduce your spending on depreciating stuff, you're already ahead. You don't have to change your whole life overnight. Just tilt the system in your favor. Tilt it toward growth instead of erosion. And once it tilts, compounding does the heavy lifting. Every good decision becomes a seed. Every month becomes progress. Every year becomes momentum. The takeaway: your financial future isn't written by your income. It's written by your behavior. How much you keep. How your lifestyle changes with raises. How early you invest. What your assets look like. And how steadily your net worth grows. These numbers, quiet, simple, almost invisible, predict wealth with astonishing accuracy. If you focus on them now, long before anyone else notices, your future self will thank you. Not just with money, but with freedom, calm, and security. Because wealth isn't about getting lucky. It's about doing a few things right, consistently. And now that you know them, the rest is up to you.